Hey guys, welcome back. Basically, I wanted to talk about this book that I was reading. This book I saw because the cover attracted me so much, and I wanted to show you guys, through my perspective. These colors are so vibrant and it's so pretty, and I just picked it up because obviously as a fashion design major, I love looking colors and seeing what colors look good together and where colors came from. I thought it would be really interesting to talk about this book because after I read it, I honestly found that this book isn't only about color, it's kind of about history and the effects of color throughout the ages. Something that I was super surprised to learn. But the US government actually got the building structure and the columns from the Greeks because they looked up to democracy, and that's what the Greeks had in the beginning. You wouldn't think of the color white in a Greek building, which sometimes a lot of people think of Greeks as having a lot of white buildings, but I also learned that many colors were actually stripped from the archaeological finds of these buildings, and they used color a lot because it drew attention to the city, which a lot of people obviously had no idea was even a thing. Once you obviously are going to tell that this book isn't just a regular book. Obviously it is pretty big and it has a lot of pictures in it, and I think if it didn't have a lot of pictures in it, it'd be kind of insane to read, just because obviously this book is all about visualizations. Like, the entire book is about visualizations that you need to be able to see. This book had so much amazing information, but I think if it weren't for the pictures, I wouldn't have been as drawn to it, because even some of the pictures they helped visualize the color in itself, because specifically Tyrian blue wasn't even actually a blue, and neither was royal purple. Royal purple was more of a, depending who it was made by, royal purple was actually sometimes magenta or even a completely different shade of blue. It was kind of insane. And another fun fact, royal purple actually was a gift from Julius Caesar to Cleopatra because he was so basically in love with her that Cleopatra made it to the royal purple. A lot of people wouldn't even know that. Everyone thought that royal purple actually came from the European royalties, not from Egyptian time. More of the science-y area, that a lot of these colors were made super dangerously. No one actually took into consideration what they were putting into these colors and then what they were doing with them, because the Egyptians as well, they would put this type of eyeliner under their eyes that was Tyrian blue, and it contained so many harsh chemicals, including lead. Since a beauty statement meant more than a health risk, then I think that's why this impact was so big, because we now think of Egyptians as having the blue or the black eyeliner, and it kind of puts you into perspective to, as we can refract to today, like what beauty standards are we seeing that are normal now, but in a few years or even like hundreds of years, who knows, they could be super dangerous and we didn't even know it. But I think that's super interesting. But not just the pictures really tied the book together. Writing really drew me in at first. Obviously the pictures, because they're colorful, and that's why I picked up this book. But the writing was honestly so easy. It wasn't too heavy with words that I didn't know, so I would get lost in the text. It basically told stories about the colors and the history so smoothly that it felt like I was reading a regular fiction book. So, for example, the beginning, the first color that we talked about was black, and it was manganese black, which you would imagine, you'd think this is so boring and everything, but in the beginning there was just a story about the boys on September 1940 that found super ancient cave drawings that ended up being exposed to light because of these three kids finding them, that it basically almost ruined a huge part of our history, because it's one of the oldest paintings to ever exist, and it was obviously in a cave, so we tried to find out like how long ago it was, but if it weren't for these boys, it probably wouldn't have even been discovered. So I think that's kind of cool how you can see the impact. And it's also interesting because the way the story was told, it literally felt like fiction up until the facts started weaving in. And I think that's also super effective, weaving in facts into stories. So it doesn't feel like you're reading a textbook, you're reading more of an interesting collection of stories that just have to partake to one topic. I learned actually so much more about the history of these colors. I think actually the one part of this book that really stuck with me was the fact that so many of these colors were not necessarily founded at the same time, but have found their way to our culture so much. The art that we have now might have not been the same art that we had then, but it kind of had the same concept, and I thought that was really cool. As a fashion design major, sustainability is really important. If we try to go back to doing things the way they were before, like dyeing our clothing with these types of minerals and kind of earthier things, then it honestly would help out the fashion industry so much. And clearly, if people back in thousands of years ago could dye their clothing blue by using a few rocks and a few natural things that they literally found, that they didn't come up with, that they didn't make into chemicals, I think that that'd be super easy to use. To just give you guys a little bit heads up of the book, because I know you would think reading a book about something like this wouldn't even be that interesting, because I mean, yeah, the cover looks really cool and there's a lot of pictures, but what does that really have to do with your position in society as your job? And I think that I wanted to do this research because of the fact that sustainability is important to us, and people are realizing it more, but a lot of people aren't sure what to do about it, because obviously all of our clothing that we get at stores, they're definitely not being made with things that they should be made, like natural dyes. And I'm glad that I read this book. It really kind of opened up my mind about colors and the impact that they have. And I really hope you guys get a chance to pick this book up, because you'll definitely learn so much that you weren't expecting to learn, not just about history, not just about color, not just about art, but you're going to be able to learn some new perspectives on how life was back then and how we can improve it now. Thank you for watching.